Depression. Imagine waking up and noticing that your mind feels unusually heavy, even though nothing specific has happened. You may realize that activities which once triggered feelings of pleasure or motivation now feel emotionally flat. In psychology, this reduced ability to experience pleasure is called anhedonia, and it is one of the core features of major depressive disorder. Inside your brain, mood regulation depends on several neurotransmitter systems, particularly serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Because of this, you may experience persistent low mood, mental fatigue, slowed thinking, and difficulty concentrating. You might also notice physiological changes, such as altered sleep patterns, appetite disturbances, or reduced energy levels. Anxiety. Imagine going through your day while your mind constantly anticipates that something might go wrong. Even when situations appear normal, you may feel persistent tension or uneasiness. This pattern is commonly associated with generalized anxiety disorder. Inside your brain, anxiety is closely linked to the amygdala, a structure involved in threat detection. When this system becomes overactive, your brain may begin interpreting ordinary situations as potential dangers. This activates the body's stress response and releases hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. Because of this heightened response, you may notice symptoms like restlessness, muscle tension, difficulty concentrating, or a constant feeling of mental alertness, even when there is no immediate threat present. Panic disorder. Imagine suddenly feeling an intense surge of fear that comes out of nowhere, even when you are completely safe. Your heart races, your breathing quickens, your hands may sweat, and your mind feels like it's losing control. These sudden episodes are called panic attacks, a hallmark of panic disorder. During a panic attack, your autonomic nervous system triggers the fight or flight response, releasing hormones like adrenaline. This causes physical symptoms such as rapid heartbeat, shortness of breath, dizziness, and chest tightness. Because these attacks are unpredictable, you may start avoiding situations that you fear could trigger them. Over time, this can lead to anticipatory anxiety, where your mind constantly worries about when the next attack might occur. Social anxiety disorder. Imagine entering a room full of people and immediately feeling your heart race, palms sweat, and mind go blank, even though nothing dangerous is happening. This is common in social anxiety disorder, where social situations trigger intense fear of judgment or embarrassment. In your brain, the amygdala and prefrontal cortex interact to regulate threat perception and self-awareness. In social anxiety, this system becomes overactive, making ordinary social interactions feel threatening. As a result, you may avoid conversations, public speaking, or social gatherings, and experience anticipatory anxiety, worrying constantly about how others perceive you. Physical symptoms like trembling, blushing, or a racing heartbeat often accompany these fears. Obsessive-compulsive disorder. Imagine your mind getting stuck on certain thoughts that keep repeating, even though you know they don't make sense. These are called obsessions, a key feature of obsessive-compulsive disorder. To relieve the distress caused by these thoughts, you might feel compelled to perform certain actions, known as compulsions, like repeated checking or cleaning. In your brain, OCD is linked to abnormal activity in the corticostriato-thalamocortical circuit, which regulates habit formation and decision-making. Neurotransmitters like serotonin also play a critical role in controlling repetitive thoughts and behaviors. As a result, you may find yourself trapped in cycles of intrusive thoughts and repetitive actions, which interfere with daily life and create significant emotional stress. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Imagine experiencing a traumatic event and then feeling like your mind keeps replaying it, even months later. You may have flashbacks, nightmares, or intense emotional reactions triggered by reminders of the event. This is characteristic of post-traumatic stress disorder. In your brain, PTSD involves the amygdala, which becomes hyperactive, the hippocampus, which struggles to process memories accurately, and the prefrontal cortex, which regulates fear responses. This imbalance can cause exaggerated stress reactions and difficulty distinguishing safe situations from threats. Because of these changes, you might feel constantly on edge, avoid reminders of the trauma, and experience heightened anxiety, making everyday life feel unpredictable and unsafe. Bipolar disorder. Imagine your emotions swinging between extreme highs and deep lows, sometimes without warning. During the high phase, called mania, you may feel euphoric, highly energetic, and unusually confident. In the low phase, called depression, you might feel hopeless, fatigued, and disinterested in daily activities. This pattern defines bipolar disorder. These mood swings are linked to changes in neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, as well as altered activity in the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, which regulate mood and emotional responses. Because of these shifts, your thoughts, energy, and behavior can change drastically over time, affecting relationships, work, and daily functioning. Schizophrenia. Imagine feeling disconnected from reality, where your thoughts, perceptions, or beliefs don't match what's actually happening. You might hear voices, see things that aren't there, or hold beliefs that seem real but are false. These symptoms are hallmarks of schizophrenia. In your brain, schizophrenia is linked to dopamine dysregulation in certain neural pathways, as well as structural and functional changes in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, which affect thinking, memory, and perception. Because of these changes, you may struggle with logical thinking, distinguishing reality from hallucinations, and maintaining normal social interactions or daily routines. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Imagine trying to focus on a task, but your mind constantly jumps between thoughts, making it hard to stay on track. You may feel restless, act impulsively, or struggle to organize daily activities. These are common features of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. In your brain, ADHD involves dysregulation of dopamine and norepinephrine in areas like the prefrontal cortex, which governs attention, executive function, and impulse control. This can make it challenging to sustain focus, plan ahead, or control impulses. Because of these neurological differences, everyday tasks like school, work, or even conversations may feel mentally exhausting, and you may need strategies to manage attention and behavior effectively. Autism spectrum disorder. Imagine experiencing the world differently, where social interactions feel confusing, and you prefer routines or repetitive behaviors to feel safe. This is characteristic of autism spectrum disorder. In your brain, ASD involves differences in neural connectivity and synaptic signaling, affecting communication between regions responsible for social behavior, sensory processing, and executive function. You may notice heightened sensitivity to sounds, lights, or touch. Because of these differences, you might find social cues difficult to interpret, enjoy focused interests intensely, and rely on predictable routines to navigate daily life comfortably. Anorexia nervosa. Imagine constantly feeling worried about your body weight or shape, even if you are underweight, and restricting food intake to control it. This is characteristic of anorexia nervosa. In your brain, anorexia involves dysregulation of serotonin and dopamine systems, which affect reward, appetite, and mood. The hypothalamus, which regulates hunger, can also signal less hunger than your body needs, reinforcing restrictive eating behaviors. Because of these changes, you may experience low energy, distorted body perception, and obsessive thoughts about food and weight, which can significantly affect physical and mental health over time. Borderline personality disorder. Imagine your emotions swinging intensely within hours, making it hard to feel stable or in control. You may experience extreme fear of abandonment, have unstable relationships, or act impulsively. These patterns are characteristic of borderline personality disorder. In your brain, BPD involves changes in the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, which affect emotional regulation and decision-making. Dysregulation of serotonin also contributes to impulsivity and mood instability. Because of these neurological and emotional differences, you may find it challenging to manage reactions, maintain stable relationships, and cope with stress, which can impact daily life and self-perception.